We're back, people, and today we're going to film on Jaylen Wright, Miami Dolphins running back, going into year 2, and I want to talk about how I think he should be utilized going into his second season. Leave a like on the video, really helps me out with all the YouTube algorithm and all that good stuff. But Wright is probably the player I'm expecting the biggest breakout from going into this next season. I think, he's a guy that obviously he's very talented, but I think more opportunities and just better O-line play will equal to just a bigger breakout. But I think a real way to take him to even a bigger level than that than he's already going to get to is changing up his utilization slightly, because we're going to look at some pro film and college film. If you go back to his college film at Tennessee, Jaylen Wright never ran outside zone, and that's obviously what the Dolphins do at the heaviest rate is outside zone. He never did at Tennessee. Not like he barely did. No, he never did that stuff. And so gap scheme, inside zone. And I think that's something that Dolphins offense is missing. I'm not saying that's what you should be just doing every time Jaylen Wright's in the game, but I think it needs to be more of a split, because one, he had a lot of successful runs at the pro doing some of the different stuff that they're not used to doing. He looks more comfortable with it. And even if you look at his outside zone stuff, a lot of his most successful outside zone runs are with a lead fullback, which I think, gives him more of a familiar feel of stuff. And it's just something, that makes the read simpler. And I think, in year 1, when you're a rookie and you're kind of learning a whole new run concept, something that you're not used to, and you're working behind poor blocking, I think, that can stunt development. So I think, being able to mix things up will be a huge help. And it's just something, based on how defenses play Miami, having someone in there that, will do more stuff interior-wise, I think could help open up the outside runs even more. So we're going to take a look at this very talented player, explosiveness, his size, his ability to maintain his acceleration and burst. I think his footwork's really clean, contact balance. We're going to look at all this stuff. But this Patriots game was probably his best game of the season. This was back when, you still had Austin Jackson. It was probably the best game from Alec Ingold as well. And use Alec Ingold as a lead a lot in this game. I just think it made his reads easier. He looked very comfortable. And this is kind of what you're hoping for from outside zone, because this is where they actually able to utilize him outside zone. But it was typically with a lead blocker, Alec Ingold. Usually you're just reading end man line of the scrimmage down. And, he's kind of still doing that, but he's working off Ingold. Once he sees Ingold work this sort of inside angle and kind of get up on this D tackle, he's pressing up onto it. And look at him just chain these cuts together with his feet down low. Boom, press up into this, and already finding that cutback lane just makes things a lot easier on Wright in these situations. Very good feet. His feet here, look at him bend in that lower half. His flexibility and bend is very good. It's I love seeing the combination. People will talk about the burst and speed with him, but I think when you combine burst and speed, his size, the power contact balance, and then also the flexibility is such a huge boost for a running back. Great feet. And look at him just burst through this hole, and look at him bend and maintain that burst. He's able to bend to get back on that path and is able to still maintain his speed getting downhill, run through some arm tackles, finish forward, allow him to build momentum. I still think Wright's going to see just a huge boost going into the second season. I know I've seen some Dolphins fans tell me Ollie Gordon's going to be better than Wright or get more usage. I just don't see that happening, especially not this year. But then, you'll still see these runs where it's not outside zone. It's more of this interior stuff. Gap scheme. You see them down blocking right here. Down block, pulling Liam Eichenberg. And you're kind of working off the back of Liam. He presses up onto the pulling right guard. He kicks him out. And he just looks super comfortable working off these blocks, because you're just following your puller, and then you just becomes pure creative after that. After your guy kicks out, you're kind of just becoming a pure creative runner at that point. And he's able to, get to the second level, make a nice cut. Look at him make this cut, and then show off that burst and speed. And look at this. When he's pressed up like this, and he's still able to then maintain that speed to get to the outside, this is not normal athletic movements. When you're in this spot, it's hard to really explode out at this angle and maintain that speed to get around the edge. That DB probably should have got the angle on you, and he's able to get a nice extra gain. Here you can just see the speed and burst out in space. You can still utilize him on these. This is, not your typical outside zone stuff, but this is still the toss concepts they love to use. Still that ability you want to be able to capture the edge. You get him one-on-one, boom. Actually impressive. They didn't even call horse collar there when he gets horse collared. Downhill, some different aiming points as I'm talking about when he can get downhill in a hurry. And you can just look how Tennessee is playing this. Look at how far the linebackers are off the ball. Typically, linebackers are a little bit closer, and they're playing this far off so they have better angles to work to the edge. You know, they got these people in the box. They're ready to get out there, and the Dolphins up front are still kind of working. Like they're selling with their offensive line here, outside zone. Like the way they're working this is selling like that they're running outside zone, but that's not where the hand up ends up going. It goes up the middle like it's an inside zone. It just creates like really good angles for your guys, space to work with, and then Wright I think looks much more comfortable attacking, those interior gaps from that sort of mesh point angle that he gets here, and he's able to work off the back of his block, patience, and then just burst forward straight. Look at the contact balance, power to bounce off the secondary there. Very, very impressed with Jaylen Wright in those scenarios. Here's another example: outside zone lead, just working off the back of Angle. That's why, like, when Alec Ingle's having really good games, like as we talked about, this Patriots game was easily his best game. That's when the Dolphins' run game is just at different levels. Mike McDaniel even talked about it in an interview the other day about when, like, how Angle makes life easier on the offensive line, makes their angles easier and stuff like that. And he's just working off the back there, burst, speed, hit through that hole when things are blocked up well. I think Wright can take advantage of it. And obviously you have the athletic tools to really take advantage and potentially turn these plays into huge home runs down the line with just more opportunities, which I think is possible. And here's like pure outside zone. I think this is where, like, you don't get you don't get the lead. This is probably one of his better reps, hitting the break. He sees, reading MLI scrimmage down. He now gets to 90. I just think he's a little bit late still. Like, I think he can work his eyes a little bit quicker. He sees this guy set the edge here. He should be able to find 90, I think, a little bit quicker. So when he does make the cutback lane, he doesn't have to completely stop his momentum. He should be able to, like, press up into the 90 and then make a cut, sort of change that. He kind of has to slow down completely to then get back. He has the athleticism to do it. But I think those things can still be a little bit cleaner. You'll see some other examples of it. But when it's just like get downhill, work through some trash in the interior, this is where you can have some big runs. Also, with how defenses are playing you, they're getting pretty wide. They're also not expecting it as much. You're able to create some displacement there. I think you have the O-line for it this year more so as well. Helps them create some big play opportunities. There's another example of it. Another interior run. You can just see one. I mean, look at this. This is like nothing a crazy play. But one, look at the bend in the lower half. He's able to really be flexible in his hips. Great hip flexibility. It's huge. Look at him pick up his feet. Boom. This is just great feel. Pick up your feet to stay on it. Really explosive. And then out of the pickup of your feet, look at him already stick that foot in the ground. More bend in the lower half. Still to fall forward. Maximize the yardage. Really, really impressed. Here's another example of just like great athleticism. It's like nothing too crazy. He doesn't create a ton of yards. But you see the DB coming low on him. Look at him get his feet up. Stay on his feet. Great body control, in air athleticism to, like, remain your balance after going up in the air, especially in like the trash of the middle of the defense like this, and then fall forward for some extra yards, because a lot of guys when they hit the ground here probably not going to get too many yards after the fact, but he's able to stay on his feet, fall forward for an extra 2.5 yards. Good work there from Wright. And then you'll see the college film, lots of inside zone, getting downhill north and south very quickly, work off his blocks. Look at the bend in that lower half. Flexibility. Look at the contact balance and body control, hitting some spin moves off of off of contact there. Then the gap scheme stuff, working off the back of pullers. I think this is where he can stay more patient. He can stay square to the line of scrimmage. Working back to the puller, he's able to press up into this, and now he can just juice this to the outside because things are a little more condensed compared to what you got in Miami. Because this defense is all on the inside, ready for those inside runs that you're able to bounce it to the outside, where they're more playing outside in at the next level just based on what you're running a ton. And it's just constantly inside zone with like an insert tight end, kind of creates like a fullback type look here. And then he just bounces to the outside with feel, runs through, arm tackles, good stiff arm, physical presence he's able to play with. I think that's an underrated part of his game. Is he does a good job working through contact. Like, look at him, fight for extra yards, good footwork here. I think that when he can have really good footwork, man, like he's chaining his moves together, you're not getting too stuck in the mud in transition. Very, very impressed with a lot of that stuff from Jaylen Wright. Like here, allow the blocks to develop, get downhill. I think, yeah, it's just sort of the mental side of the game. It's just he's still kind of developing there. It's not like it's a weakness of his per se. It's like something like, oh, I don't think he'll ever be good at. It's just him still getting used to running those concepts. vision at the next level where things are a little more complicated. It can be, difficult to transition sometimes, especially when you're running such a vastly different offensive system like Tennessee to Miami. So different. But you can still see that like he has the physical and athletic skill set to play in Miami. Like it's something that I do think will translate and he'll get the hang of. But I do think mixing up that utilization one is just helpful for the Dolphins offense. It's something they needed to do anyways. I think one it will be able to also very much help out Jalen Wright. You're seeing a lot of these effective runs on inside zone and gap scheme stuff. I mean, look at him hit these transitional plays, pull away from people. Very excited to see how he's used in year two, and I think I'm expecting a nice jump from Jalen Wright. So if you do not comment, subscribe.